Good afternoon. Our first song this afternoon will be 609, 609. I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his name, and gain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross. Firm as his throne, his promise stand, and he can well secure what I've committed to his hand till his decisive hour. Then will he own my worthless name before his Father's face. Jerusalem, appoint for me a place. Next song will be 608, 608. He took my burdens all away, up to a brighter day. He gave me a song, a wonderful song, a wonderful song I now can sing. In my heart joy bells ring. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. He gave me a song to sing about. He lifted me from sin and doubt. Oh, praise his name. He is my King, a wonderful song. He is to me. Brighter the way he every day, climbing the heavenly way. He gave me a song, a wonderful song, a wonderful song I now can sing. Praise it to him, my King. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. He gave me a song to sing about. He lifted me. Oh, praise his name. He is my King, a wonderful song. He is to me. I am redeemed, no more to die, never to say goodbye. Song of days in that fair land, sing with a chorus grand. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. He gave me a song to sing about. He lifted me from sin and doubt. Oh, praise his name. He is my King, a wonderful song. He is to me. We now led in prayer.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the many blessings that you've given us, both physically and spiritually. Father, thank you for this time that we can come together and study your word and praise your name as like-minded Christians. Pray that you will be with us as we go into this worship service. Pray that things that are said and done are in accordance with your will. Pray that you be with those that are sick and hurting. Pray that you will bring them back to their health, if it be your will. In your Son's name, amen.
The song following the lesson will be number 927. Song prior to the lesson will be 548, 548. I have found a friend in Jesus, he's everything to me. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. The lily of the valley, the alone I see. All I need to cleanse and make him fully whole. In sorrow he's my comfort, in trouble he's my stay. He tells me every care on him to roll. He's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. Oh, he'll all my griefs has taken and all my sorrows borne. In temptation he's my strong and mighty tower. I have all for him forsaken and all my idols torn. For my heart and now he keeps me by his power. Though all the world forsake me and Satan tempt me sore, through Jesus I shall safely reach the goal. He's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. He will never, never leave me, nor yet forsake me here, while I live by faith and do his blessed will. A wall of fire about me, I've nothing now to fear. With his manna he my hungry soul shall fill. Then sweeping up to glory to see his blessed face, where rivers of delight shall ever roll. He's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul.
I want to, for just a minute or two, go back to the picture that you had in your brain of the widow in the temple. If you're like me, and I begin to think about it, I think of this very dramatic moment, right? I want to make things cinematic. And so to me, there is this bustle. She has a light on her that makes her special as she goes through. It draws your eye, and I mean, I want to do all that, but the reality is, she never knew that she was an example. She lived her entire life, gave, and for all intents and purposes that we know, finished her life and died never knowing that we would be talking about her thousands of years later. Can you imagine the surprise she must have had when she got to heaven to find out that here we are still talking about that moment all these years later? And really, I think what makes it so impactful is the idea that her moment that is recorded for us embodies what true generosity is, and that it requires boldness. You could imagine it takes a lot of boldness to put everything you have in the temple collection. And so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about boldness for a second in our generosity. And so there are three points that I want to make this afternoon. Boldness and generosity requires God that he will provide. it's easy to trust matters in things that are beyond our control. When there's things that we just have no control over, things that are out of our hands, it's easy to put our trust in God and say, well, I have no control of it, therefore, God, I need you to take the point here, right? But what about the things that we can control? Do we tend to trust ourselves, or do our actions reflect a trust in God? We trust God, therefore, we're going to do this thing that maybe people in our same position wouldn't do because they don't have that trust. A lot of people give when they think they can afford it. But that doesn't take trust. Being generous when it is not a sacrifice doesn't take trust at all. But here she is, she trusts God to provide for her the things that she needs. She trusts that God will continue to provide in her life. And so it does take that. It takes trust. And it's our opportunity to show the world that we trust God more than we trust in the riches of this world. So it's a matter of trust. The next one, I looked for a T word because all these have T's. And I'm not really excited about this one, but I'll explain why. I'll explain using this. But boldness in our generosity goes beyond tithing, right? So tithing is an Old Testament command from God. In the Old Testament, there was a tithe. It is a word that means a tenth. And God expected for Israel to offer a tenth of everything that they had. And it was used for caring for the priests and the musicians and the people who took care of the temple and all that kind of thing. Since they were busy doing that and couldn't go out and harvest and couldn't do those things, God's people took care of them by the tithe. But as we have seen in various places in the Old Testament, Israel struggled with that. They didn't always give what they should have given, what was commanded of them. Malachi, in Malachi chapter 3, beginning in verse 8, he asked the question, will a man rob God? Yet you are robbing me. And then they say in response, how have we robbed you? And he says, in your tithes and your contributions. You're cursed with a curse. You're robbing me, the whole nation of you. Bring the full tithe into the storehouse so that it may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, saith the Lord of hosts. If I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour out for you a blessing until there is no more need. And so Malachi asks the question for God, why are you robbing me? And they respond, how can we be robbing God? You're God. How could we be robbing you of anything? And he responds with, they weren't meeting the requirements of their tithing. Here is the problem. The reason they were not responding and meeting the requirements of the tithing is because they didn't love the Lord the way they should. Because they were self-centered in who they were. And so to be bold, we have to look at it beyond just the obligation. Because when we have the obligation, and that's all that is there, we can tend to overlook those things, right? We can tend to say, well, okay, I know this is expecting me, but I've also got these other expectations, and it just becomes a responsibility among other responsibilities. And sometimes that means it gets pushed to the back or it gets forgotten, or then it becomes automatic. Okay, well, just take the money out, right? Maybe some of you are like us, and we have several bills that they automatically just come out of our bank account. I don't think about the internet bill. It comes out automatically. I don't have to say, okay, on this date, I got to get this paid and got to get this turned in, because it just doesn't. And to be honest with you, the only time I ever think about the internet and the bill and all those kinds of things is when it doesn't work, right? Other the times, it gets done, and I don't even think a second thought of it. And that's the problem with tithing. That's the struggle with tithing, is it becomes just a thing that is done, and there is no thought to it. There is no emotion behind it, and so it has to be more than that. We have to look at it as the idea that God is deserving of our generosity, and that by holding back our generosity, we are robbing God of doing marvelous things in this world, right? So, the reality is that in order to help spread the gospel, the church needs to be able to pay for certain things to do that, whether it's materials or supporting individuals who do that or whatever. And the way that God has designed that is for us to be free will giving of our means. And so we have to recognize that when we are limited, when we are not generous, and we just look at it as a tithe or a responsibility that we meet sometimes and we don't meet sometimes, we're actually limiting God in what he can do in spreading the gospel. Because we're making it harder for those who want to do that to do it. So it has to go beyond the tithe. And then the last thing is, if we're going to be bold in our generosity, we have to look at it as a way of giving thanks. So that's our 3 T words, right? We have trust, beyond the tithe, and giving thanks. So the question comes, do you believe that all things belong to God? I appreciated so much Dennis's prayer this morning in the offering, because he pointed out to the fact that we are just temporary keepers of the things that God has given us. I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but I remember that was the basic idea, is that what we have, we've just been entrusted for a little bit, and it belongs to God. God has entrusted us with certain blessings. And when we use our generosity to use those blessings to help others, whether it's financial or time or whatever, then it's a way of showing thanks. We also have to recognize that we're not giving away things that belong to us, but things that belong to him. Your talent, your time, your finances, they all belong to God. And so we're just giving what already belongs to him. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 2, it says, "Now concerning the collection of the saints, as I've directed the church of Galatia, so you're also to do on the first day of the week, let each one of you put something aside and store it up, that he may prosper, so that there be no collecting when I come." Paul here talks about the opportunity, the responsibility, but also the opportunity to share with those who are in need. And I think when we recognize that we have an abundance and we use that abundance for those around us, it's a way of telling God thank you and recognizing that we do have an abundance. I'm thanking God for giving me a talent. I'm thanking God for giving me certain amounts of time. I'm thanking God for giving me certain amounts of finances by using them in ways that glorify him, right? It's my way of saying thank you. So, again, I don't want anybody pointing fingers this afternoon, but could you imagine if you paid for your child to go to college and they were going to be, a doctor, an engineer, whatever it is, in a very particular field, and so you paid money so that they could go do that, and then after you've paid all this money for them to go, they open a candle store on Congress Street, right? You would look at them and go, world. That's not why we sacrifice. That's not why I took a bologna sandwich to lunch every day so that we could pay for your college. I paid so that you could go and do this thing with it. And I think God sometimes looks at us that way too. God looks at us and says, I gave you all of these blessings. I gave you all of these things that you could use, and you used them for things other than what they were intended. And I think it breaks his heart just as it would a parent who made all those sacrifices so their kid could do a particular thing and they go do something else. But in looking at it, again, and I won't take up too much more time, the widow with her 2 mites, she does show a trust, right? She is giving all that she has, knowing God will provide. She gives beyond obligation, beyond tithing, because she should only have to give 10% of that. But she gave all of it. She gave beyond what was necessary. And whether she realized it or not, her actions show that she honored God and she was thankful to God for the things that she did have. And I think, brethren, that's really the secret to it. The idea of generosity is offensive to those who view it through the lens of obligation. If when we talk about giving to the church or we talk about giving to those around us and helping those who need it, or any of those things, if we talk about that and you filter that message through obligation, the principal obligation, it's hard to hear, right? But when you filter it through the idea of giving thanks and doing it joyfully and willfully, and doing it not because it's something that you have to do, but it's because it's who you are, reflecting God in your life, all of a sudden that message becomes exciting. It goes from we have to give to we get to support all the wonderful things that God is doing. We get to help those who are our Christian friends and those who need it most. We get to show people who God is, how generous He is, by being generous as well. And so if we take anything from all of this that I've said this morning, all the Bible has taught us this morning, let's take that. I'm not calling on you this morning, nor is the Bible calling to be generous in your giving. I'm calling on you to be a generous person. And everything else will fall in line after that. To have a generous heart, a heart like God has. So that's the challenge for us today, is to find generosity in our hearts first. And then the rest of it takes care of itself. We'll offer an invitation to those who need it. Again, if you're not a Christian, there are all kinds of opportunities to become one. The invitation of the gospel stands open to anyone at any time who is willing to take it. However, it is a limited time offer. At some point, the offer goes away. Because when this world is over, the opportunity to obey the gospel is gone. So while we have time, while we have chance, we should take it. And if you've not done that, what an opportunity you have while you have time tonight to put on the Lord in baptism, to obey the gospel. And for those of us who are Christians, I love and am a little, I don't know what the word is, overwhelmed by the way that God teaches us. Because He teaches us not just to do things a particular way, but He tells us who we can be and the beautiful result God wants us to be. If we can help you to do that this afternoon, give us the chance. Why don't you come forward as we stand and as we sing.